Sophie Cunningham shoe, a PE for Sophie Cunningham got announced. A player exclusive, player edition, whatever PE stands for. She's got her own kind of shoe style. It's coming out. And man, these old guard bitter fans, they are collapsing right in front of our very eye. They're going through a mental breakdown, a psychotic break right before our very eye. Let's get right into it, shall we? Grab yourself a cup of coffee, grab yourself a drink, and let's have some fun. Like the video, hype the
A shoe. That's what started all of this.
First look at Fever star Sophie Cunningham is releasing her first sneaker, a PE colorway of the Adidas Crazy Energy, July 24th for $120. Nice price point.
Sophie Cunningham, Indiana Fever forward, just got her own PE colorway of the Adidas Crazy Energy, dropping July 24th for $120, a player exclusive, her name on a shoe, and the internet absolutely lost its mind. But before we get into the meltdown, and there is a genuine meltdown to talk about here, it's worth asking the question the critics keep dodging: what actually makes someone deserve a signature shoe? Because the answer to that question is where this whole story starts to fall apart for the people who are mad.
Doesn't this, you know what, only average 8 points per game? Kyle Copper and Chelsea Gray, WNBA Finals MVP and Olympic gold medalists, are right there. I just have a lot of questions, especially after how she got away with so much over the past.
8 points per game, 3 rebounds per career. That's the stat line being thrown around like it's a knockout blow. And on the surface, sure, it doesn't scream face of the brand. But here's what nobody in that outrage mob seems to want to engage with. Adidas isn't handing out shoe deals based on a box score. They're handing out shoe deals based on cultural footprint, social media reach, jersey sales, and the size of the audience that actually shows up to watch someone play. Sophie Cunningham does not have a mediocre cultural footprint. Whatever you think of her politics, whatever you think of her personality, she has a fan base that moves product. And that is the only math Adidas is doing here.
They've just been sucking off the teat of the NBA for the last 30 years. They've just been subsidized by the NBA for the last 30. They've just been funded by the NBA for the last 30 years. So it's hard for them to actually comprehend trying to make money off of the business. But that's why these companies are in it. Believe it or not. Believe it or not.
Now here's the part of this story that should actually make you think, and we're going to come back to it in a minute because it reframes the entire debate about who deserves what in the WNBA right now. But first, let's sit with what those reactions actually said, because it wasn't just criticism of the business decision. It got somewhere very specific, very fast.
A company whose founders joined the Nazi Party and supplied shoes to the German army and then used their facilities and labors to produce weapons is now partnering with an athlete who has gone viral for harassing a black.
White privilege, racism, a matching pointy hood. Those aren't critiques of a marketing strategy. Those are accusations of something far more serious lobbed at a shoe announcement. A shoe that retails for $120 in pink. Look, if you believe a company made a business decision primarily to uplift white athletes over more accomplished black athletes, that's a conversation worth having. It deserves evidence, context, and real comparison. What it does not deserve is the approach these particular tweets took, which was to skip straight past evidence and land directly on the most inflammatory possible framing. Because when you do that, you're not building a case. You're just performing outrage, and outrage without a case is how you lose the argument before it starts.
The concept of paying $120 for a Sophie Cunningham shoe. For Sophie Cunningham, averaging single-digit points, and Adidas and Candace Parker are not only giving her a PE shoe, but trying to rob people over $20. F out of here for a bench player. Racism really sells, huh? Oh, it's so racist that Sophie Cunningham is getting her.
The Chelsea Gray and Nneka Ogwumike comparison is the one that keeps coming up, and it's the most interesting one because it's actually the strongest version of the argument against Cunningham's shoe. Gray is a former WNBA Finals MVP. Ogwumike is an Olympic gold medalist. Both are on paper more decorated players. If Adidas had PE shoes for every one of their decorated WNBA athletes and Cunningham was also on that list, it would barely be news. The fact that she's getting one and certain other players aren't is the specific grievance. But here's the problem with that argument. A PE colorway is not the same as a signature shoe. Player-exclusive colorways get handed to athletes based on brand relationships, sponsorship deals, and marketing windows, not career awards. And more importantly, Chelsea Gray and Nneka Ogwumike's shoe situations are determined by their own sponsorship portfolios. This isn't a zero-sum game where Cunningham getting a colorway means someone else loses one. Adidas can and does give PEs to multiple athletes at the same time. The framing that one player's deal came at another player's expense is simply not how brand partnerships work.
Oh, what a racist Adidas is. Not even a starter, by the way, averages 8 points and 3 rebounds in her career. DEI hire. No, she's a money hire. I need to make money. I'm gonna pick you. Asia Wilson. Now that's a DEI hire. Shoe sitting on the clearance rack. Now that's a DEI hire. Chelsea Gray and Cock Hopper, those would have been DEI.
Now let's talk about what nobody on the criticism side wants to acknowledge, and this is the part that reframes the whole picture. The WNBA's viewership situation right now is genuinely unprecedented. Caitlin Clark came into the league in 2024 and changed the calculus on everything. TV ratings, ticket prices, merchandise revenue, and most relevantly here, brand interest in WNBA athletes. The brands that were barely paying attention to the WNBA 2 years ago are now actively building WNBA-specific campaigns, dropping WNBA-specific products, and signing deals with players who exist in that cultural orbit. Sophie Cunningham has built her brand specifically within that orbit. She's the Indiana Fever's second most talked about player. She goes viral, she drives engagement, and brands, especially shoe brands, follow engagement. That's not a moral judgment. That's a market reality.
White supremacy ones, folks. These people are this is, folks. I've said this numerous times. Before I came into the WNBA, if I was to close my eyes and picture how a WNBA fan thinks and tweets, these are the tweets that I would picture in my mind. Unhinged.
The Adidas history point is worth addressing directly because it came up in the reactions and it deserves a real answer, not just mockery. It is true that Adidas's founders, Aditi and Rudolf Dassler, were members of the Nazi Party and that the company's facilities were used in connection with Germany's wartime industrial efforts. That is documented history, and nobody credible disputes it. What makes it a strange attack vector here is the implication that Adidas signing Sophie Cunningham specifically is connected to that history in some meaningful way, and that logical leap is where the argument collapses. Adidas has had partnerships with black athletes for decades, including some of the most celebrated athletes in sports history. Using the company's 1930s history as a cudgel against a 2025 WNBA shoe deal, while presumably still listening to rappers who are on the same label, or wearing the same 3 stripes, is not a principled critique. It's a rhetorical grenade thrown because the thrower ran out of better ammunition.
She don't deserve shit, but maybe y'all should Google Adidas athletes with PEs before attempting to complain about who should have been picked up instead. The doors to hell are really open. Now we have the Yahoo post, right? Yahoo putting up Adidas crazy energy Sophie Cunningham shoe to drop. And this is just...
Here is the part of this story that nobody is saying out loud, and it matters more than the shoe. The old guard WNBA fanbase, the people who watched this league before 2024, before Clark, before any of this attention, are going through a genuinely disorienting experience right now. For 30 years, they supported a league that the broader sports world largely ignored. They bought tickets, they watched the games, they argued about it online when nobody else cared. And now the league is suddenly getting this wave of attention and money and brand interest, and a lot of the new audience is not who they expected. It doesn't share their values. It doesn't rally around the players they rallied around. And it's bringing in revenue that is lifting the entire league, including the players those old fans love, but in a way that feels culturally hostile to them. That's a real tension. It's not just spite. There's something genuinely painful about watching something you loved get repackaged for an audience that doesn't share your investment in it. The mistake those fans are making is that their pain doesn't automatically make the new audience wrong, or the business decisions racist, or Sophie Cunningham undeserving. Pain is not evidence. Grief is not an argument.
This is good. This is ultimate white privilege. We've never seen an inconsistent role player get a shoe Literally, the biggest thing she's ever done was point at a black woman. First of all, she's one of the most consistent role players in the league. Better ask somebody, Don Snow. The biggest thing she's done was point at a black woman. Damn. I feel bad for you, man. I truly feel bad for you.
The pointy hood tweet is the one that deserves the most scrutiny because of the 3 tweets shown. It's the one that crosses the clearest line. Accusing a woman of being a Klansman because she got a shoe deal from Adidas is not political commentary. It's not cultural criticism. It's a dehumanizing smear targeted at a real person, and the fact that it got amplified and received engagement rather than pushback says something about the environment that produced it. If a right-wing account had posted the equivalent about a black WNBA player getting a shoe deal, it would have been screenshot, ratioed, posted everywhere as an example of what's wrong with that side. The standard shouldn't depend on the direction the attack is coming from. Reducing a human being to a racist archetype because you disagree with a sneaker company's marketing choice is ugly, regardless of who does it.
People are not. MAGA shoe. These people are crazy. This is just racism. It's racism. This is mythical racism. Comes with a matching pointy hood. Oh, goddamn. Oh, man. Mediocrity wins again.
Let's put the she only averages 8 points argument completely to rest because it's the one that sounds most reasonable on the surface and falls apart the fastest under examination. The NBA has handed player exclusives and signature shoes to backup players, to players who never started, to players who never averaged more than 10 points. Kyrie Irving's shoe line outsells LeBron James in certain markets despite the gap in on-court resume. Damian Lillard has a signature line in part because of his cultural presence and marketability. The WNBA is no different. A PE colorway is a brand relationship, and brand relationships are built on cultural capital, not box score averages. The argument that only statistical leaders deserve shoe deals would disqualify roughly 80% of every sneaker deal ever signed in professional basketball history. The critics don't actually believe this principle. They're applying it selectively to the one player they already decided they don't like.
Oh, man. These people are unhinged and they need to seek help. But I told you, I love watching Caitlin Clark play, but watching people melt down like this, it brings me some joy as well. I must admit.
And that selectivity is the real tell, because the argument shifts depending on what conclusion it needs to reach. When the evidence is stats, they use stats. When the evidence is achievements, they use achievements. When those don't land, they go to history. The Adidas Nazi connection, the getting away with things the past few weeks. When that doesn't land, they go to character assassination, the Klan hood, the MAGA label. The argument is not looking for truth, it's looking for a weapon. And when you're that committed to finding a weapon, every tool becomes one, regardless of whether it fits the situation.
Pointing at Dewana Bonner? Ooh, she pointed it at somebody. Oh, somebody call the police. Call the police. Cock Hopper, Chelsea Gray? Who and who?
The pointing at a black woman reference is worth naming specifically because it's the piece of context being used to paint Cunningham as someone who got away with something dangerous. What actually happened? Sophie Cunningham pointed at Dearica Hamby during a game. There was contact. It was flagged. It became a social media moment. It was not, to be clear, a criminal incident, a league suspension, or even a substantial fine by any reported account. Pointing at a black woman became the shorthand, the thing that defined her entire public identity for a certain group of people. Not her rebounds, not her shooting, not her role on the team. A pointing gesture during a basketball game, that is the history being cited as disqualifying her from a shoe deal. And the fact that it's being treated as equivalent to actual misconduct tells you everything about how distorted the framing has become.
Hey, hires. Election interference ones. Oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. White people really do have it easy. Yeah, oh, they have it so easy. They have it so easy. Oh my God.
So what does this actually mean for the WNBA going forward? Because that is the real question underneath all the noise. The league is at an inflection point where old money and new money, old audience and new audience, old culture and new culture are all colliding at once. That collision is genuinely uncomfortable. It was always going to produce friction. And the friction is going to get louder before it gets quieter, because the financial stakes keep going up, the brand deals keep getting bigger, and the question of who the WNBA is for keeps getting harder to avoid. The answer, if there is one, is probably that it doesn't have to be for one group at the exclusion of the other. The league is big enough to have Caitlin Clark and Breanna Stewart, Sophie Cunningham and Arike Ogunbowale, old fans and new fans. But that's hard to believe when people on both sides are committed to treating every business decision like a declaration of war. Sophie Cunningham has a shoe, it drops July 24th, it costs $120. It's pink, and if you want to buy it, you can. And if you don't, nobody is forcing you to. The only thing that should actually concern anyone watching this situation is the willingness on both sides, but with particular intensity from the critics in this case, to turn a sneaker announcement into evidence of a civilizational battle. That's not analysis, that's a feedback loop. And the people stuck in it are going to be stuck in it no matter what Adidas does next. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If a player you personally liked had gotten this exact same shoe deal, same price point, same colorway, same timing, would you have called it racism? Would you have posted about clan hoods? Or would you have said, good for her, she's built something real outside the box score? Answer that honestly before you answer anything else. Drop your take in the comments below. And if you think the outrage here is real or manufactured, let me know, because that debate is just getting started. Like the video if you got something out of it, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.